Thank you for listening to BizPod with me, Paul.
And me, Rachel.
Our weekly business English podcast where we talk about the news, social media, and hot topics from a business point of view. You'll get a podcast and links to the articles we discuss. This way you can share your thoughts too. Join us as we discuss what's on our minds this week. So Rachel, how often do you get an email or a message or a phone call at 11 in the evening?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't know. I'm asleep then.
What about after 7 p.m. then?
Yeah, often.
Yeah?
I think it's because they're usually from Italians. I think it's because Italians work till late in the evening, and for them it's still before they've had their dinner. So They don't consider it particularly late. But for you and me, anything past 6 o'clock is like...
It's definitely a no-no, isn't it? Yeah, you have your dinner at 5, and then the rest of the evening's your own. You don't do any work.
Supposedly.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think different cultures have different ideas about when is acceptable to contact people.
Yeah,
especially for business. I'm not talking about personal. I'm talking about business. Business. But we have an interesting article which is about Australia today. Australians get the right to disconnect after hours. Now, it says after hours. It doesn't say what those after hours actually are, though, which is interesting.
Right.
So what do you consider after hours?
After 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Standard 9 to 5.
Okay, fair enough.
I suppose it depends on the company and what hours. I mean, if somebody works shifts, their out of hours might be during the day.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think with the rise of people working from home, the COVID pandemic sort of created a shift in how people worked.
Yeah.
And I think for most organisations, they had never had employees working remotely. So they had no policies, and the managers had no understanding of how to deal with, manage, and communicate with a team that is not in an office building somewhere in the middle of a city.
Yeah.
And I do remember at the beginning of the pandemic, there were lots of my sort of students saying, my boss keeps ringing me at 10 o'clock at night, or, I got an email at midnight from the boss.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do in those situations.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a guy who was one of the bosses who was really, really upset when he telephoned one of his staff who were working from home and they didn't answer the phone. And he was like, you're at home, you're not allowed out, your phone's next to your computer, where the hell are you? And I said they might be, on the loo, they might be.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's not acceptable. He could not accept somebody not picking up his call immediately because he couldn't understand, there's no other colleagues to be talking to. And he just couldn't get it into his head that his phone call wasn't answered immediately.
Okay. I think that's somebody who's perhaps got quite a big ego, on a bit of an ego trip. I'm the boss, you have to do what I say. But yeah, I mean, even when you're in the office, you are not always immediately available.
Yeah. Could have been on a Teams call. Could have been.
Yeah, you could be on another call. You could be in the middle of doing something important. Yeah. You could be on a coffee break.
Yeah. You might have your phone on silent because you're trying to focus and concentrate and stop people interrupting you.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, right. But I think at the beginning of the pandemic, it was quite a strange work style for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it seems to be the norm. I think in Europe particularly, 2 days at home, 3 days in the office or something similar.
I think it's good. I think they've realised, some jobs you don't have to be in the office. I can understand there's a level of accountability.
Yeah.
But why not? But anyway, well, what about getting emails? I mean, those bosses might be working remotely just as much as the employees are working remotely. So the bosses might be working in the evening because they have families. They're looking after the kids during the day or whatever, especially during the summer. So they might want to send the email. So the article says it's not illegal or not unreasonable to send the email, but the recipient absolutely does not need to feel that they have to respond unless their refusal is deemed unreasonable. And that's a little bit vague.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I understand, if we are working from home and perhaps you don't have fixed hours of work, so you can sort of choose to work earlier in the morning or late in the evening if you want to. I think, whether you're a boss or not, whenever you are working, you should be free to send messages and to send emails and send documents. But perhaps you have to understand that the person you're sending that message or that email to might not be working at that precise moment. They might have finished for the day, or they might not have even started for the day. So you can't necessarily expect or demand an immediate response from them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a new thing.
No.
I do remember many, many, many years ago talking to somebody who worked for an international company and was part of a team, an international team, with, people in the team based in Europe, some in the Americas, some in Asia, and in 3 very, very different time zones. So they understood, if you want to send a message to your American colleagues and you send a message at 8 o'clock in the morning, Paris time, I think your Americans are still in bed, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're not going to respond.
No.
Yeah. And similarly with the Americans sending messages late at night to their European colleagues, their European colleagues have already finished work. And probably late in the evening.
So maybe it doesn't work across international companies or international boundaries, but it does work within one nation. This is talking about Australia.
Yeah.
And the article does say that many other countries, particularly in Europe, have similar rules. I know Germany, it's an absolute no-no from 5 o'clock on a Friday before 9 o'clock on a Monday. You do not bother your employees.
Okay. But there have to be some exceptions, especially people who work in industries like, if there's an emergency, and if you're in the oil and gas, there's an emergency on a Saturday at 3, are they going to say, oh, well, we can't possibly bother anybody about it?
That must be the refusal is deemed unreasonable, the place is on fire.
Well, it will still be on fire at 9 o'clock on Monday, won't it?
Or just do what the Italians do, which is have 2 phones.
Yeah.
One for work and one for not work.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, a nice short and sweet one this week, but quite an interesting article. So take a look and have a think. Next time you get an email or a call, just have a quick look at what time it was either sent or what time you responded to it. Are you sticking by office hours? Are you breaking the rules, really?
Yeah, I think everyone has to have their own sort of ideas about when you stop working. And you have to have time to switch off. It's really important.
Yeah. So I'm going to now say goodbye. And I'm going to switch
off.
It's
time to switch off.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you liked our podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with us. Until next time, goodbye.